Something pretty big is going down at one of America's most famous cultural spots, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Some of the biggest holiday shows are canceled, the stages are dark, and it's all because of a huge controversy that's got everyone talking about politics, art, and what a legacy really means.
I mean, wow. This quote from folk singer Kristy Lee, who's one of the artists pulling out, it just says it all, doesn't it? For these performers, this is way more than just a scheduling issue. It's a stand they feel they have to take, even though it's hitting them right in the wallet.
So, that's the big question, right? What on earth could cause this kind of mass walkout from what's supposed to be a top-tier venue for any artist? Well, that's what we're going to unpack right now. Let's get into what's really happening at the Kennedy Center.
To figure out why the stages are empty, you kind of have to look at the writing on the wall. And I mean that literally. The thing that kicked this whole firestorm off is a change to the building itself. A change that gets at the very identity of the place.
Okay, so it's super important to remember how the center got started. It wasn't just another concert hall. It was created by an act of Congress to be a living memorial to President John F. Kennedy. Its name and its purpose are literally written into law.
So how did we end up here? This timeline really lays it out. You see, during his first term, President Trump didn't pay much attention to the center. But in his second term, that changed. He got way more involved, replaced the leadership, and put his own people on the board. And that new board, they voted to add his name to the building, making it official on December 19th.
Now, this wasn't just a random decision. It's reportedly part of a much bigger mission by the administration to push back against what they call woke culture in our national cultural institutions. It's all part of a larger cultural battle over what kind of art gets a platform.
As you can imagine, a move this big created a massive fallout. And now, you've got two very different, very passionate sides digging in for a fight.
The artistic community's response was, well, immediate and pretty unified. And this list just keeps getting longer. We're talking about traditions that have been around for decades, like Chuck Redd's Christmas Jazz Show getting canceled. Even a planned run of Hamilton got pulled. And it's not just performers. Board members like Renee Fleming and Ben Folds have resigned.
And let's be clear, this isn't just symbolic. This has real-world costs. Take Doug Varone and Dancers, for example. They're out $40,000 by canceling what was supposed to be their 40th anniversary show. The director called it financially devastating but morally exhilarating. That really tells you something.
Okay, so this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The two sides are worlds apart. The artists see this as a moral duty, defending a public institution from, in their words, political capture and somebody else's ego. But the center's new leadership, they're calling the artists far-left political activists and say the whole boycott is selfish and intolerant. There is zero common ground here.
And the language coming from the center's new leadership is intense. The interim president, Richard Grenell, actually called the boycott a form of derangement syndrome. He even reportedly threatened one of the boycotting musicians with $1 million lawsuit, saying the cancellation was nothing more than a political stunt.
This whole thing isn't just a war of words anymore either. It's now headed to the courts. A lawsuit's been filed that says you can't just rename a memorial that was created by Congress without Congress's approval. The suit calls it a flagrant violation of the rule of law.
So as you can see, this whole thing is about way more than just a name on a building. It's tapping into this really fundamental fight over the soul of our public institutions and what they're supposed to stand for.
So here's the bottom line. What we are all watching is a head-on collision between the idea of artistic freedom and the use of political power to influence a national cultural landmark. It's really a test of how these publicly funded spaces are going to handle the pressure of politics.
And that leaves us with this one giant question. When politics and art clash this hard on a national stage, who actually gets to decide what our cultural memorials stand for? Who owns that legacy? That's the question that's just echoing through the empty halls of the Kennedy Center right now.